You love Wim Hof, I love Wim Hof. One of the things we love about Wim Hof is how his breath techniques can help us with stress. In this video, Wim Hof talks about how he uses his beautiful, incredible, unique techniques to deal with stress. I'm going to be doing, with his permission, some Wim Hof breathing at my event this weekend. There's a link in the description for how you can get tickets. If you're in the south of England and you want to come to a field and do some breathing, some meditation, click on the link below. Have a look at this video, and at the end I'll demonstrate the technique that Wim uses to you in case you don't have it. But you should get Wim's app. I mean, he is after all the master. I know you feel stressed. It's been a mad stressful time. That's why it's important we come together and do things in communion, and while you arm yourselves with techniques to awaken your own body's power. Have a look at this. Do you use this in a practical daily way? Say, for example, you felt afraid or intimidated or under some kind of threat. Have you got examples of doing that in your own life?
Yeah, I deal with stress in many ways, like everybody. So I'm a family father of 6, and I got a dog. And 2 chickens, and fish, and 3 turtles.
And so when these...
And they need maintenance and all, and this and that.
When those turtles...
And they shit sometimes, I get stressed about it.
Right, time to bring in the system.
Yeah, bang! It was only when these professors they came to me, psychiatrist professors, and they asked me if I was willing to be subdued in an experiment in a model they developed. And this model was to bring stress onto the body, cold, into a vest.
When was this?
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago in February.
Is this in Germany or America?
Michigan. Detroit. And Wayne State University School of Medicine. There, they put me into a brain scan. And in a brain scan, you are not able to move. And
it's like an MRI, is it?
MRI, yes, fMRI and brain scan. fMRI is more the body, and brain scan is the brain. So they put me in the both a couple of times, and they had 74 people before that. 1.5 year was the study already ongoing. 74 people had been tested with the perfusion vest, which is a vest firefighters use underneath their equipment to keep cool. So it has tubes inside with cold water. They pumped cold water into the perfusion vest, and then it goes back. And because the body wants to get warm or something, they cool it down and keep it on cooling. So what normally is shown is that the people with the 74 people all showed that the skin temperature was going down when it was cold, warm when it going up. Cold, warm, cold, warm, cold, warm. Those are the graphics. Then they looked inside the brain, and that what is dealing with the stress is the prefrontal cortex was very activated in their cases. And the insula, for example, when you do deep meditation for a long time, then the insula gets this euphoric state activation. So then you lose prefrontal cortex is going lower. It's like blue color when euphoria is there, because then the insula is working. It gets up. And in all the cases, this was very activated and this was very low, like red, and this was blue. And there was no other activation in the brain. This was dealing with the direct stress coming in. This is what they saw in the brain. And then they took me. And when I did nothing, the same graphics. They saw the same graphics. The prefrontal cortex very activated, and the insula very little activated. Like everybody else. So, and then they asked day 3, Wim, now today you have to do what the Iceman is doing, your meditation. I don't know what I'm doing. I just do it. It's like in the water. What do you think of? Yeah, don't think, baby, just be. Just do it. And all these moments on Mount Everest and the Kilimanjaro, in the marathons under the ice, losing my way under the ice, hanging by one finger in midwinter between hot air balloons, extremes, staying for 2 hours in ice, and all feeling fine. I gotta do that, what I always did. But now it's not nature around me, it's a brain scan. But I knew what to do. I had the confidence, I had to click. Oh yeah, that's it. So I went, they put me in the brain scan, and they pumped the cold water in, but my skin temperature did not go down anymore. And like 8 times, and coming and going, like cold, warm, had no effect. I was 1 degree up, and I stayed over there, cold or warm, impervious, and not moving. No contraction of muscles, no deep breathing, because you cannot do that. You see a blurred images on the monitor, so I was not allowed to do anything, just by thought. And then they looked inside the brain. They saw very little activation of the prefrontal cortex, like blue, no activation, very red, like insula, very high up. Like I was in euphoria. I was warm. The water was warm. It had never been cold to me. And then they saw something they never had seen before. And that was the activation of the periaqueductal gray hemisphere, which is the deepest part of the brain stem, the crocodile mind, the reptilian brain we have no control over. Why? Because we never go like cold, warm. No, we are into this destimulative behavior. And all the people, they lose the connections because it's not necessary to, there's no need for the periaqueductal. Now, the periaqueductal gray hemisphere is the residence of our opioids and endocannabinoids. The cannabinoids, euphoria, nice feeling, like hashish, like a nice weed, pot, or whatever it is called. You feel, wow, they're great. They are activated at that moment within our system. But we got this T-shirt. It says, get high on your own supply. It's there. It's there for us all. So they saw me activating that robustly. And then they said, we found the key components of the autonomous processes in the brain, thought of, inaccessible by humans, now accessible of our conscious brain, related to mood regulation. And mood regulation, mood is anything, is emotion. Could be through cold, stress, heat, stress, emotional stress, daily stress, all those things. And then they said, this is a transformational technique that will change mental health care. But how long will it take that it gets to the people who need it?
My assumption is that because you have spent all that time practicing with the clear and more physical conditions of exposure to cold, you have learned how to activate, you said, the insular aspect of your brain. It's not consciousness, in this case it's your brain, it's a physical, measurable thing, so that when you are required to access it, you can. I felt that, so you have a form of practice. Fascinating that you could access that crocodile mind. It makes me feel that perhaps the way that our brains have evolved is in, obviously any kind of evolution is by its nature incremental. But it seems that what must have happened with human beings is that part of the mind, this crocodile mind, where the opioids, you said, were, my ears pricked up at that point, Wim, let me tell you, where the opioid receptors are stored. This part of the mind must not, because it's formulated so far, separated by such distance of time from the conscious mind that most of us occupy, the relationship between these two parts of the brain is not being correctly formulated. But because we live in these lives where we are encouraged to live on one particular frequency, we don't know how to travel between these parts of consciousness. Now, when I think of the mystical role of the shaman is the member of the tribe that can travel between levels of consciousness. The shaman is the member of the tribe that knows how to access the crocodile mind. The insular knows how to go between these levels. And how do we see shaman represented in tribal cultures? As different totemic animals. They know how to access different parts of the animal mind. I like this. So for me, these practices that you are developing is a kind of a new shamanism, a new way of accessing different parts of the brain. You know, obviously the relationship between the consciousness and the brain is a strong one, but it suggests to me that there is a relationship between consciousness and the body if, the skin temperature wasn't altering. So it feels to me that, if you were to try to, which obviously is your mission, to popularize these techniques so as many people as possible have access to them, it seems likely that before we could get to the point where we are able to regulate and control our own dopamine, that we would have to go on a process of learning these more basic forms of control. Would that be correct?
Yes. I always say, make it simple. A cold shower a day keeps the doctor away. That's it.
Start having cold showers.
Yeah, that's it. And take a warm one later, but first a cold one. You know what happens when you first take a cold one? Oh, I need to go into the stress. Yeah. No, you activate your conscious brain into the brainstem.
I had my personal experience of what you were describing and what you have mastered was one time I jumped into a very cold pond in someone's garden just to experience it, and like you say, I gasped and stuff. And once I was in the water, I was thinking, my God, my body is designed to be able to cope with this, and I'm never letting my body experience it. So I'm living in just one room in the mansion. I'm not exploring the other rooms in the mansion. I'm not opening the doors. I'm not looking at what's accessible.
Exactly. You know, what happens is because we think so much on this one level way of using our brain, that's the neocortex, it gets 25% more blood flow. The rest is getting 25% less. It's like surviving. It's not blooming. It's not able to be connected with because the right biochemistry is not there. So in case when people get out of balance, it's like dopamine, serotonin, which is inside our brain cells. When that happens, we don't know how to bring the blood flow over there. You go into cold showers. It's not about toughness. No, it's about bringing the blood flow right in the brainstem. And with that, it passes the midbrain, which is the mammalian brain, which is the feeling. And that feeling suddenly gets the right biochemistry. And then you are able, with your will, which is a neurological muscle, to, of course, you like to bring balance to the biochemistry and accordingly the dopamine and the serotonin, which is a natural thing to be. But we denaturalized by bringing 25% more over there on a regular basis, and we survive, we go, we nice. But when the shit hits the fan, we don't know how to get in there and bring balance. So if you go into the cold shower and deal with the cold and or do these breathing techniques, then you go into the deepest, and with that, it activates the right biochemistry, and it needs to pass the midbrain. You get not 20%, you get 100% of the brain activation. And we have shown that in the last study with Hanover, in the one of the 2 best brain scans of the world, they saw it was disco. In doing these breathing techniques, they say, Germans, say it's disco. Now, you know, Germans dancing and a little bit like wood. But hey, it was disco. And he said 100% of the brain was working. That is biochemistry. And that is where we miss out on through our destimulative comfort zone behaviorism.
So through these techniques, we're not just talking about the mind, we're talking about the brain. aspects of the brain, parts of the brain are lighting up that are not normally lighting up.
Yes.
Through doing this, we're accessing, of course, the brain's biochemistry. We're getting access to healing and a totally different perspective on the world. Who doesn't feel stressed in this crazy time? If you don't know how to do the technique, let me demonstrate. You sit in a position where you're comfortable, or you lay flat on your back. And whenever I've done it with Wim, because I've had that privilege, this is how he breathes. He breathes into the abdomen, chest, and then fills up. 30 times, and then on the 30th or 40th breath, he, on the exhale, holds out. And you try to get up to a minute on the first round, then maybe aim for a minute and a half, maybe 2. Before long, you can get to 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, even longer than that. And what Wim believes, and what I believe too, is this can awaken dormant systems within you to make you more able to handle the stress that comes your way, the doubts and tension and challenges of the crazy world we live in. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel, please. Have a look at the other things on the main channel. Sign up to my mailing list at russellbrand.com. There's a link in the description as well to my event on the 11th and 12th. Come and see that as well. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at this little guy. And if you want to learn some more political stuff, have a look at that. That'll blow your mind. Thanks very much for watching.